trying to eat it. Your alignment and mobility when we have an injury determines where the force goes, right? So if this is the loosest part of your back, meaning when you're bending, see, your middle back should be soft. Can you feel that? Lay your head flat.
Yeah.
Get the idea? See how it's supposed to be bendable in here. But if this part of your back is really stiff, if I bend, all the bending occurs somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Rather than where it should be.
Rather than where it should be. It shouldn't be possible to injure this without first injuring that. And because this isn't injured, it tells me that the firing order was reversed. The diaphragm attaches in here, your lats, your trap. So this part of your back gets stiff. And then when you had an injury, this is L4 and L5, the second to last segment got an injury. All right. So then you start seeing some laterality. So your body's, I think of it like putting something hot in your mouth. You'll move it around to try to. Well, you'll move something hot around your mouth to take the pressure off and not burn something, right? So this is pressure relief. Your body's trying to move something around. Does that make sense? To prevent hitting the nerve. That's called antalgia. We call that. So your body's trying to shift and move things around because we have a disc that's worn, or there's an injury plus aging of that disc, and then you're having the shifting going on. So these little dark spaces here are where the nerves go through, and that hole can change in size based on your position and posture.
Right.
So that's where you're seeing the shifting going on. What are you feeling today?
Feeling like, around L4 and 5, where they call it a classical spot, and then coming up through my glute, my right.
Right.
And then sort of, even up here, I get sort of like a spasms.
Mm-hmm. This area being tight in here allowed this area to be overstressed, and then that pain that's happening is because this area is inflamed because of that old injury.
Right.
And we need to start taking some stress off that area, and I'll see if I can, on your back for me, so we're going to start face up. The purpose of this adjustment is to actually not adjust L4, L5, and I'm praying and hoping that nobody's really gone down there and messed with that injured ligament area. So we're going to adjust the segments below your lower back and above your lower back to detour some of the stress off that lower back, and that's sort of the purpose of this adjustment. Bring your hands on your belly for me. Perfect. So there we go. Excellent. So I'm going to check your middle back first here. Take a deep breath in. Just going to sort of feel this middle back. Good. Okay, deep breath in. Exhale. All right. Deep breath in. I'm going to check this middle back first. Here we go. Good. Good. Breathe. Exhale. Good. Oh, face up for me. You can see where your bones are here. A little bit to the right. So the top bone sticking out a little bit on the right side. Don't feel it as well on the left. Your head is straight to your torso. A little bit of a, not too much. Everything's out to the right. So the bone right here, feel this? We're going to turn your head left, real gentle. Here we go. Let it go. There we go. There you go. Very good. Very good. Yeah. The purpose of this adjustment is to close the joint. I get worried sometimes. I watch sometimes people getting adjusted, and you can get a louder sound if we open the joint. But there's really no benefit in opening the joint. The joint's sort of like a handshake. When the two hands come closer together, that's closing the joint. When you separate the surfaces, that's opening a joint. And you can get a click opening or shutting a joint. It's generally louder if you open the joint. The reason why we want to close the joint is the more weight that's on the joint, the less weight's on the disc. And that disc is sort of the cornerstone that determines the age of your spine. It's the bottleneck. And so we want to have as much stress on the joints as possible to take the stress off the disc. So we're going to loosen this top guy a little bit here. There we go. We're sitting right at the top here. There we go. There we go. We'll go a little deeper in a second. Yeah. You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Do you ever get any deep tissue work or any massages before me? Or
we get a couple massages every few months, but nothing like this.
Okay. They don't go too deep on
tissue at all.
Okay. All right. Just trying to see who. It's like, has anybody vacuumed this before? Has anybody gone in here and I usually assume that I'm starting from a, no foundation. There's most of what our world does has to be put into a bottle. If it doesn't fit into a bottle or it's portable, it's not done. There we go. There we go, right there. You feel that lump right there?
Yes. You got it exactly.
This is where your neck belongs, back here, and I'm not sure if anybody's really showed you that the lumbar, in the same way, should be arched all the time. And when we lose this arch, that is sort of what unlocks the lower back, makes the lower back looser, and stiffens the middle back. So a lot of what I do is sort of orthodontic work kind of idea to try to restore the curves to your spine. In order to do that, we have to first make your spine limber, right? Make it soft like clay so that we can reshape it. Take one deep breath in for me, and then head back for me. Let it all go, let all the air out. Here we go. Beautiful. Deep breath in. I got you. 2 more. Exhale. Let all the air out. Keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Deep breath in. Exhale. Got it. 1 more. Chin down. There we go. Good. We got it. We'll get those a little better. Go. There we go. Breathe. You're doing good. I know. Get the idea right there.
Oh,
That's where, that's where it's locked the most. And that's what we're going to do in a minute while we're stretching. We're going to try to get pressure right here and use the weight of your torso to do the work. And just holding pressure here, and then you move down to here for a few minutes. And eventually we end kind of right here. So we don't go any lower than your thoracolumbar junction, and then you maybe come back up to here. And then we're going to come down and bring that roller to right here. And we're going to do that in a second. Those arms, there you go. I'm going to go gentle and we're going to stretch. There we go. Breathe. You okay?
Yes.
Here we go. Exhale. We're stretching. Okay. I know it might be tight in the shoulders. Breathe. Exhale. There we go. A little movement there. Exhale. Okay, all right. It's already coming out. There's a little bit of a lactic acid. So the acidity has been trapped in here because of the tightness. There's an old injury on your right side of your neck that perhaps we don't feel because it gets tight, right? We only feel the parts of our back that are moving. Chin down just a little bit for me. And so right there, get the idea right there?
Oh, yeah.
It
definitely feels more pronounced.
Yeah, so in and of itself, it doesn't have a problem on its own. It causes something else to have a problem. And so it's often ignored because it's not where the, let's call it degeneration is, right? What the medical world calls disease. I kind of call it adaptation. So these are the roots of your neck right here. The more forward your head goes, the more these roots are tugged on. And so we're seeing a little bit of marking coming out here on the roots. This will come out forever and ever until the head comes back. Your ear should be over the center of your shoulder, and so we want to, after we get you nice and limbered up, we're going to start showing you how to stretch your body back. That's really the only way that this can go away. But these roots will be, the stress will be taken off of them. Right there, that's a tree root. Very good. Here, relax that shoulder, there you go. It is relaxed, isn't it? Even the marks are a little darker, like this has been here a while. Sometimes you'll see the color difference, like this is a little redder, this is a little bit darker here. Almost like old blood, something that's been trapped for quite a while.
And would that just be like poor circulation because such muscle
Right.
tension?
Right, so it's atrophied. The circulation into these high pressure regions, nobody drives down to the end of the road to the cul-de-sac. So now I'm forcing that travel. Now if we don't change the posture, it just builds back up again. And so, they taught for 100 years, 102 years that adjustments change posture. And as much as I wish that were to be true, we have to stretch. So the goal again is to soften. Not as much coming out up there. It's already circulating pretty well up in the left upper. The right's the congested side.
Knuckles of doom. Sorry.
He really digs in, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a little bit right there. That lump right there is kind of a little knot there. I want to clear.
Didn't you catch your first fish with my dad?
Probably.
And we were like all excited, but you were like,
Yay! I don't get it. I may have to go face down. So, what the story of your back here is that the left side is higher, and the left side being higher, remember how we were tilting to the right, so this is all popped up on the left. You're telling me that contraction's on this side because you're essentially tilting to the right, and then the right's pinching. Does that make sense? Because ultimately, the left upper part of his back, you understand, is too tight up here, and all the work's being thrown over here. Now, whatever caused that old injury over here that's making you shift your weight over to the right is the source of now the compensatory pain on the right. So as we sort of move you back to the left side, we're going to encounter the monster over here that I don't know how long ago happened, but your body's leaning away from it, and it's never sort of fun to confront old problems. And that's what on this left middle part of your back, you might say the same thing. Ed, I found like you spent a lot of time on my left middle part of my back, but it's because you're leaning away from this left side, and it's sort of the question of what happened in here. Why are you... Feel that, David? Right there. This is the problem. And now the right side's just overburdened, and you're pinching the right lower. There we go. All right, here we go. It's just easy to get so focused on the injuries. Like on that MRI, the guy had circled L4 and L5, right? And I'd almost circle your middle back and say, look how young it is. Right? But nobody really cares about that. That picture was taken when you're in your in your 50s, and your middle back looks 18. So how is that not of some significance? Meaning that it hasn't aged since you were 20, and another part of your back has done all the aging.
So it's overworking the right side?
You got it.
Because that's where I thought you would be working at.
I know.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. You can't help the abused area by abusing it more. You can't help a sprained ankle by twisting it around, right? It's a sprained ankle. What are you going to do with a sprained ankle? Brace it up, tape it up. Does that make sense? Ice it and leave it alone. The right side is sprained, and this comes from my father because my father was injured in certain areas like yours, and continual care on those areas only made him worse. And so a lot of what I do is in reference to my dad, who's a chiropractor, who sort of taught me Brenda and I at a young age to work around the injured areas, to divert pressure, to remove the stress, and that hot potato shifting that's going on. Like I said earlier, it's like you put something hot in your mouth and your body tries to you move it around until it cools off, and then once it's cooled off, the shifting doesn't occur anymore, right? So how do you stop the shifting? The problem goes away, right? The problem has to be resolved. You can't force you shouldn't force somebody with something hot in their mouth to stop moving it around, right? You're just gonna you're gonna hurt them, right? Or if you have something hot in your hands, you're gonna kind of pass it between your hands to keep yourself from being burned. You know, it's the same kind of thing that when I look at your x-ray, that A to P front to back x-ray, you're seeing shifting happen because there's something hurting in an area and your body's trying to, you know, fidget around and find a more comfortable position. That's not the problem. Your one hip's higher. Does that make sense? All that's happening as a way of, and I don't directly undo it. Somebody might say, okay, your right hip's high, let's take your right hip and shove it back down. Does that make sense? I don't agree with that, because that shifting is happening purposefully and intelligently to get relief. And so how do we make it go away? Well, once the pressure is taken off the injured area, the area will start to function properly and not need to be avoided, and then the shifting will stop. But right there, yeah. It's smaller up here, but the same. It starts right about there. And it goes all the way down to here. It's from here all the way to here. There's an injury on your left side. And the body expected that whatever caused it to happen again. And so it fortified the area, locked it down, and then leaned away from it. Check these rib heads over here, see if there's any, see how big the injury was. So we got the facets between the vertebrae here, and then you have the rib attachments on the transverse process out here. So we're checking a little bit right there. A little bit of rib injury too. So whatever happened, it wasn't just the joint in the back, it was the rib also. Right there. But I'd say it was more a back injury than it was a lateral injury. If it was more lateral, you'd find it more out here. It seems like it's all right here. There's not nearly as large of a lump over here. There is here on the shoulder, though. This is all tighter up here. Still, both sides of the middle back are responsible. Both sides are. Just one side's more responsible. When you're on your side, this is the joint that I'm trying to adjust right here.
That's definitely the one right at the spot.
Right there. This is just this is more symptom care here. This is an effect. It doesn't, this is a pawn or an employee of this. This is not its own boss. If you clear the middle back, this doesn't happen. But symptomatically, we can go in here and untangle some of this and give you some relief. But if we just work here, it's kind of silly. You'll never get anywhere. It just re-tightens back up again and gets pretty depressing. But we can temporarily.
That's why it never goes away when I use a foam roller.
Yeah, it won't. Here, it'll feel good for a little while, but it doesn't, because this is just being tasered by the lower back. See that? the nerves having to travel through this, and this is what's, you know, at least half the symptoms come from this bruising, right? And half of it's from that anterior listhesis at L4. The hole the nerve goes through is made smaller by that movement, and it kind of inflames that intervertebral frame, and by having that movement that's not supposed to be there. And then some of it's from the bruising. This is where I want you to get some Epsom salt when you get home. Put it right here on this glute area. We got to get this soreness out of here. If it just settles back down again, then it'll just re-irritate the nerve again. We want to drive all this out of here. See how it's not as tight over here? You feel there's not as much. This is not as abused.
Yeah, much less.
There's not that contraction of glute medius is not as tight right here, but sometimes the joint will be tighter. Let me check that. This right here can be tighter because the sacroiliac joint, I kind of blame the left side for the abuse of the right. So pretty quickly on your left middle, there's already a mark forming. This is the sort of ground zero. Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho. I feel like a miner sometimes. I'm digging in here. Unlock all this. Yeah, there is some here, Carl, on the rib. So it's a little bit more lateral. You have the facet line right here along the spine, and then this is rib head. So how quickly the mark comes out sort of, again, tells me how much is in there. But it did involve that rib, not as checking these upper ribs, but a little bit right there. But yeah. But yeah, it's all pretty much right. I scanned everywhere else, it's all right here, right on that. And here, didn't they have pretty defined muscles there, Carl?
Oh, he does.
Pretty, I mean,
You have great muscle tone.
it's like you've,
built.
I ain't messing with you, football, man. It's power, it's where your power comes from when you're doing your sports. Put it here on the right. You know, combing this side, there's maybe half the mark.
Half
You know,
the mark than the
than the
left side, yeah?
Yeah, because the right side, because it moves, it cleans itself. The side that's moving actually mechanically washes itself by that movement. So even though it's the hurting side, it has the benefit of really not being locked up and sequestered. Now there's some participation. This is definitely partly responsible right here. There is a little bit of a lock here to here on his right, but on his right side, but it's from here to here on the left, and then it's about a little bit here on the lower on the right. You know, that injury we saw in the MRI is right there. L5, L4. And notice how I've completely left you alone your lower back, David, right? I've left that.
Yes.
I'm gonna go in here with my elbow or dig. We leave that alone. And then it's like repairing a road. You can't repair a road while cars are driving on it. You got to detour the traffic, shut down the lanes, and then we can fix the road. You know, are we annoyed when lanes are closed down? Absolutely, but we don't want to drive on pothole roads. So we don't go out there and start attacking the road repair crews. Right? That's what inflammation is. Inflammation is a tool your body uses to repair itself. And we demonize inflammation, and I'm like, careful. That's a tool your body's using to open up the tissue to allow for replacement and rebuilding. It's not the enemy. It becomes chronic because we don't stop the continual stress, and that's what sort of gives it a bad rap and a bad name. But yeah, it's not nearly as Just seeing how mobile these tarsal, metatarsal joints are. About 80% of your weight should be on your heel. So the more weight that goes on the toes, the more jammed these joints get. So when we're walking or just standing, you should have your weight on your heels. We have toes for balance. They're not designed to hold weight, perpetually or all the time. Right, so that left side,
Purple looking.
yeah. Go ahead and tilt your head to the right a little bit for me. Yeah, there's that. All right, breathe. There you go. Tilt your head to the right a little bit for me. Tilt your head right. There we go. Good. It's okay. There we go. Left a little bit for me. There we go. Good. Yeah. That was real easy. Wasn't too much. Tilt your head right or left. Sorry. Yeah. Good.
That's a first.
Put your bottom here, feet that way. And then we're going to try to place that right over that spot. Bend the knees for me. There we go. There we go. Come on. Try to get that head back. There we go. Arms above your head. There you go. And then every day the rest of your life, we spend time arching your body back. You want to, every segment and no difficulty. You're working all these segments, and my bottom's not coming up. We're trying to playing teeter-totter. We're keeping our bottom down. Eventually your legs are straight, arms are straight. This is what, everything I do on the table is to make this approachable. If we're not prepped, this is probably gonna hurt you, because what ends up happening is if I put the roller, if your middle back is so tight and we try to stretch you, you're just gonna bend in the lower back. And so this is how people get hurt. I tried yoga and I got hurt, or I tried stretching and I got hurt. It's because they're not bending where we want them to bend. So that's why we have to spend an hour unlocking those areas, so that when we're pressing on the middle back, just the area that we want to engage, and we're not further aggravating that sprained ankle in your lower back. The best treatment for the pain would be ice. So you'd lay on your left side, and you take an ice cube, you'd hold it with a paper towel, and you ice right at L4 and L5 on that right side. You okay?
Good.
All right. Thanks for dropping it for me. Restore your flexibility here. And that just takes adjustments, massage, stretching, wash up, adjustments, massage. You got to repeat that.
That's where it's locked up pretty much. That it locks up there. So every part of your back is not doing its job. It's gonna suffer somewhere else, right? You can lock it up.
Cause effect. Everybody's looking at the effects. Your surgeons are talking about effects. And this is why Tiger Woods had 5 back surgeries.